Hello, everyone. Welcome to our organic transit webinar. We have an incredible action-packed session for you guys planned today, and we're excited that you're here joining us. This is actually our most well-attended organic transit webinar so far, which does say a lot about how momentum is really growing for this company. So whether you're an ELF owner, an investor, or you're just now learning about the opportunity, we are really happy you're here. First off, a quick disclaimer about our Reg CF offering. Startup investments are risky. We encourage you all to review the materials on our offering page, and we'll put that link in the chat. And let me go ahead and start with quick introductions so you know who's on the call today. We have our founder and CEO, Rob Cotter, here with us. We have Steve Weinstein, our lead investor. Ellie Spear, she's an ELF owner and investor. She's also executive director of a food cycling nonprofit. And we have Mike Hastings, our CFO. And everyone will be here answering questions live, and we have a really great session for you. So to kick off the discussion, I wanted to start with a few questions for our panelists, and then we'll go into a live Q&A. So all of you watching, put your questions in the Q&A or the chat, and we'll answer as many as we possibly can during the session. Okay, I'm going to start with Steve. Steve, I would love for you to introduce yourself briefly, and then I'll ask you kind of a question around your experience being the lead investor of ELF. So do you want to give us a quick introduction?
Sure, Sarah. So my name's Steve Weinstein. I was a 20-year executive at Johnson & Johnson. I retired about 4 years ago. Did a lot in innovation, new products, new business models, new ventures. So I love seeing technology get basically put into action. And I think the ELF, the reason I became the lead investor is I think it meets all of the key needs of a great invention and is a great business model to invest in and really like the leadership team.
Thank you. Thank you so much. One of the things when we were talking earlier, I was interested in, you were talking a little bit about your experience in product life cycles. So kind of a question for you. You were explaining to me where you see ELF positioned on the product life cycle curve, that technology adoption curve. Can you give us a little bit of information around how you see ELF as positioned based on your experience?
Sure. So, there's a lot of great ideas. We call them the shiny pennies that attract people. But what makes really a great invention are three things that you need. One is you need to meet consumer needs. At the end of the day, you need to do it and do it in a sizable market so that as a business, you can generate the revenue. And I think Rob and his team have really done that. And the evolution to the ELF 3.0 really just builds on understanding the consumer and what they're looking for really well. Second, you need great execution. So often innovations fail because of the execution. So you need to do it with great quality. You need to do it cost effectively. And most importantly, you need to do it reliably. So as demand grows, you can meet that demand. The worst thing that happens is people actually want your product and you can't meet the demand, and the company will not succeed. So that's number two. Number three is probably the most important thing, which is the wow factor. And I think you'll hear from others probably who own ELFs. I am hoping to own an ELF. I hope Rob will let me. But it is all about when that product is in front of people and they turn their heads and they go, oh my God, what is that? I need to have that. That is what it's all about. And ELF and Organic Transit has understood that tremendously. So still early in the life cycle, I think, because there's so much to the business model that's still going to be lived into, but they have come a long way. And I think they're in a great position to move this company forward.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to deviate from my plan a little bit and bop over to Rob because I just want Rob to quickly clarify. So ELF is not a car. Can you explain the category that ELF falls into for everyone out there?
Yeah, right. It's kind of a category breaker. For legal reasons, in most cases, it's legally a bicycle, which means three wheels or less, 1 horsepower or less, and under 20 miles an hour. Now, that's the federal rules, and that's what we designed the ELF around. but many rules have changed locally, geographically since that time. And in some cases, they could be faster. In some cases, they could have more power. Um, but it's neither a car nor a bike because for many instances, a bike is just too small and a car is just too big. But people do 10, 12,000 miles potentially with an elf per year, saving many, many thousands of dollars in fuel and insurance and registration. And it's also an exercise device. So for people concerned about their health and they just have to go to the market or they want to go on a long distance tour, you can do that with an elf, getting exercise, traveling, 30, 50, even 100 miles a day, and cost almost nothing. And so it's for environmentalists, it's for people that want to be healthier, it's for people that want the wow factor. It's all those things, but it's not a car, nor is it really a bike.
Thank you. Thanks for clarifying. Okay. Well, we're going to go to someone who has very close personal experience with ELF, and that's Ellie Spear. She is an investor, but she's also one of our ELF owners. And she told me earlier that she bought ELF so she could get a workout while she's out and about running errands. So Ellie, welcome here today. I just wanted you to share your experience being an elf owner and share that, basically when you go out and about in town, what is that experience like when people see you in elf?
Well, I have to add in one thing from what Rob just said. It's a great
Great.
extra story.
Sure.
My husband also rides the Elf, and one day he was riding on one of our bike trails, and he got stopped by a police officer. And what's great about the Elf 1.0, and I'm assuming it's in all of them, is my husband was able to look up to the roof and point to the federal regulation sticker, huge sticker, and the police officer read it and said, "Oh, it's not a vehicle. This is a tricycle." And he was like, "Have a good day." It happened to also be one of my husband's patients, but as well. So a
Nice.
lot of people do ask, is this a vehicle? What is this? And so and I'm able to explain and show them that. So yes, this vehicle, I never imagined the recognition that I would get while I'm on the road just doing errands. And that's what I primarily use it for. My husband uses it to ride to work. Both of us want to get exercise while we're doing something else. And so I am literally stopped at stop signs, at stop lights. People roll down their windows. They ask me, what am I in? What am I riding? What am I doing? People will stop me with all of my groceries and say, please, please tell me more about this. And so I tell them a quick little story, and then they're like, great. And they and then I go on my way. So um, with now, I wanted to, as a part of this, I wanted to share with you guys sort of like the real deal you see behind Rob, all of his models, but we have one of the original ones. And I wanted to show you where we keep it in how we keep it in our garage with two other family vehicles and all my business stuff for my food cycling program. So,
That's
without
great.
further
Let's see it.
ado, we're gonna go on a little walk.
So earlier yesterday we were having a call and I convinced Ellie, I said, "Are you kidding me? You have a real life elf that you are using every day in your garage. We've got to see this." And so now, as a special treat, Ellie is actually going to take us on a little tour, and she's going to show us her elf, and she's going to show us she's about to go run some errands after this. And so she's going to give us a little tour of elf and give you guys all a glimpse at what her life is like when using elf as her everyday vehicle.
Okay,
Ellie,
hi guys.
great.
Okay. Welcome to, I run an urban farm, and sometimes I use the elf to take vegetables to people who can't stop by and pick up their vegetables.
Oh,
You probably hear the dogs in the background. They would be licking the phone and jumping up and down if I have them out. And this is a regular, two-car garage. We can have our van in here. We have the elf positioned in the middle. This is where I keep all of my buckets for fermentation system. And we have another car on the outside. We're able to charge it in Southern Indiana. I can't charge it fully with the sun, but I do have the charger connected to the ceiling and I can hook up right here and fully charge the elf. I keep all of my groceries along the sideboards. I'm able to get in and out, and I've even innovated with because I'm very short and my husband's tall, and we want to be able to move and groove really quickly with the elf. I have my own little stadium seat that I've positioned in there. We even have my husband. He breathes really heavily in the wintertime, and I don't breathe heavily in the wintertime. So that's our dehumidifier exhaust that we've added. But remember, this is the 1.0. And then in the back, like I'm doing all kinds of errands. So like I'm going to UPS after this. I'm going to recycle some of this old clothing. And it even works with, I can ride, see really well, even with my, with this back up a little bit, and it locks really well. So that's how I use the elf, and I'm going to let everyone else talk now and go back up to the webinar.
thank you, Ellie. Thank you so much.
Yep.
It's great to see and great to see how Ellie uses it. Again, that's a 1.0. I'm looking in the comments here and I see we have some other customers. We have JC who has an ELF 2.0, which does need a new motor. I'm sure that Rob can give you some advice on how you can acquire some upgraded parts and service for your ELF. But before we do that, this JC put a question in, Rob. I think we're going to go to you next anyways. Can you, in a nutshell, I know there's a lot, tell us what is different about our new ELF 3.0 versus what Ellie just showed us and what JC has, which is an ELF 2.0. Can you give us a quick snapshot?
Well, one of the things I would say quickly is that um, the new 3.0 is very, very much like the original Elf in that it's super light, super efficient, carries two people, can carry an outsized load for its size, like 4 or 5 times the weight of the vehicle. It can carry that weight of a load, kind of like tractor trailer sort of proportions, and to be super efficient. So it does all those things. It'll look similar. It's a tiny bit smaller. It's a little bit bigger on the inside. Um, it'll have more compartments for holding things. Um, and it's just going to be much more compatible, like kind of an evolutionary process for a wider audience. So it's going to be easier to get in and out of. It's going to be more comfortable. It's going to have, better heating and better cooling. It's going to have better defoggers. It will have a variety of different types of optional doors. It'll have an optional windscreen wiper. It'll have a chainless drive system. So we're eliminating, the majority of chains involved in it. It'll have full suspension. It'll have hydraulic brakes. So again, very similar to the original Elf, but just another evolutionary step into comfort and reliability and robustness. And I think it's going to carry on the torch for being like a really fun, cool item.
Thank you. That brings us to the next question that several people have already asked and will want to hear from you about. Where are you at in the development process of ELF 3.0? Everyone wants to get their hands on one and everyone is patiently waiting. We'll talk a little bit more about a program that will help you to get your ELF sooner. But for now, can you just give us a brief overview of what are those development phases that are coming up here? What are those phases and where are we at?
So I would just like to start off by saying that, we are, because of crowdfunding, because of those regulations, we're raising for a seed round, right? So prior to crowdfunding, no retail investor could be involved in something close to a seed round. They would have to wait till something got to Wall Street, and there would be many, many rounds past that. And so, but we do have the history of producing 850 vehicles prior to this. So even though it's a seed round and we made it a potential opportunity for people to get in early, there's we have the 850 we've built, but if you look at other similar projects, and I don't care if we're talking about flying devices or boats or other vehicles or stuff, that no one really thinks about developing a prototype within a seed around budget. But we can do that because we've done it before. We know exactly what we're doing next. And so to keep our costs down, we do half a dozen different types of little prototypes, actually similar to the ones, or even one of the ones that we're working with right there. And so we're playing with different suspension, different weight ratios, different center of gravity. All these things get quickly figured out with our numerous prototypes that we've had to find out to get the results we want. And then we, find it and analyze and then change it and keep doing that until it's like, oh, okay, we know what we want. So when we build the next level of prototypes, we incorporate several of those concepts into that at one time. And we're not trying to figure out everything on one vehicle. We're figuring out one thing at a time on multiple vehicles. And so, um, so that's where we're at as far as this and the staging project. Um, our intentions for this CF round were to raise 1.2 something million to do several prototypes, and that's still our intention.
And any timing, any thoughts on the timing of when that would happen in
Well,
an
this is
ideal scenario? Or I know there's a lot of factors and you can't necessarily promise any anything.
right. Well, so, this is a community affair, right? And so the more people that get to participate, the sooner we can make all this evolve quickly. We really are dependent on our community. And I have to say, with the rise in fuel prices and such, it's given us much more of a spotlight of, what people are finding more important now. And it's kind of a perfect storm, I think, that more and more people are realizing, wow, not only do I want an alternative, but I don't want to take my Tahoe, 3 miles to get to the grocery store and use, $15 worth of gas just to do that. And so here's a healthy alternative, and we're really excited about developing this faster than anybody else could.
Okay. So not to keep pressing you on this, but the 1.2 million that you want to raise, where will that get you? Where will you be after you raise that?
So several high-level prototypes like that
Okay.
will resemble the manufacturing ones, and then we just refine that to get into the manufacturing position with the companies that we're working with.
Okay, so that's the kind of a gating item to get you to that next phase, which is unlocking the manufacturing. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you for clarifying. I'm going to keep asking some hard questions here, you guys. I know you want to hear them, and you've been putting some great questions in the chat, so please keep those coming, and in the Q&A is the best place to put those. But I did want to ask a question over there to Mike, who is our CFO. And Mike, can you tell us? We talked about this $1.2 million number that is the goal. How much money does Organic Transit really need to get into production? Do you want to elaborate on anything that Rob said or clarify that in any way?
No, I would say, he worded it well. I think the $1 million or so is what we need to be sure we have prototypes, three, four, five, whatever we finally develop, to have those prototypes really, really working well. And that will be the final product to get into production. So it's going to take, unfortunately, that $1 million or so to refine those prototypes and be all ready for production, to be able to go out to suppliers and say, okay, this is exactly what parts we need, and then get it assembled and into production. So that $1 million or so is what we need to get in there.
Okay. That sounds
I,
good. I see some questions from Chad and Tim. Does that sufficiently answer your question? You can let us know if we need to elaborate on that. But hopefully that gives you a little bit of a better idea. There is one program that you're working on now, Mike, that would help to get
Mhm.
ELF into production a bit sooner. I know we have a slide on that. If Quincy from our team would like to share that. Did you want to walk through a program that you've have been putting in place to help us to get to that number?
Yes, we're starting a program where with new investments from people uh, for the 3.0 to get it jumping real fast. With new investments of $20,000, uh, we will give priority to folks that will get an ELF in the first runs when we actually start production. So I think this will be important for people to have an incentive to get that in as quickly as possible. And of course, it will help us start getting into production. But I think the incentive there to get an ELF as soon as possible, which I think is what many people really want, uh, is an important opportunity for folks.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And it looks like only 10 available is what you're offering for the first 10.
Yes.
So that is something
Yeah.
that anyone is interested in. We can send you more information. Obviously, Rob is available and Mike available to talk through any questions that you might have. And we're happy to set up calls, and we can probably put Rob's calendar link right in the chat and have that available for anyone who has additional questions. So thank you, Mike. That's fantastic. Well, before we move on, anything else that any of our panelists wanted to add? We've got a lot of questions. Steve, any thoughts from your perspective, just based on you're seeing some of these questions in the chat? You know, you are our lead investor. You have done your due diligence on ELF. I think it would be helpful for the group of investors, potential investors and supporters on here. You know, what are your thoughts hearing all this? Can you shed any light in your perspective based on the conversation so far?
Yeah, sure, Sarah. So, I worked in supply chain my career, and I can tell you, uh, the hardest part is to tell people it's not ready yet. However, the key is what Rob said, which is if you have a strong leadership team that actually works out the bugs now, think about it as moving slow to move fast quicker, because it's not going to be helpful to put out products today that actually don't work as well or aren't designed as well, and then they have to get redesigned and redesigned, and that won't allow the business to scale nearly as efficiently. So by taking the time now to do the prototyping, to fail fast, to go ahead and get the specs finalized so that when the manufacturers know what to build, it's all ready to go. And that will get more cars, not cars, more vehicles, more bikes, more new defined vehicles out on the road, but it'll allow it to happen faster. And to me, by the way, the reason I call it still a car, I know legally it's not the definition, but it's on the road. It's different than a golf cart. It's different than a bike in a bike lane. It can ride out in traffic, right, and meet the federal guidelines. And to me, that's what makes this the most exciting, is it's an alternative, right? I have two electric vehicles at home. But still, I can tell you to charge them, even when you're not going far, I'd rather ride in an elf because I don't need to use them. It's still costly to charge an electric vehicle. So to me, I feel like we should continue to give updates. My opinion is we should give updates to this group and a wider group on how the prototyping is going, how fast it looks like. I know we can't say an exact date now, but the more we can communicate, in a sense, you guys on the call are our investors. You're the bank. You're the one who needs to feel comfortable and trust that this team can execute it. I do. I think you will see how the prototyping, once it's up and running and going. But my hope is that that will make people more comfortable. That's the way we always handled innovation, and this is new and different. This, as people said, this is truly unique.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I do see in the chat, we still have some questions and I'll go to you, Ellie, right after this. We still do have some questions, which I think this is great because we need to be able to outline this for everyone in a way that you guys feel really good and can relate to. And so I will take it as an action item here. It looks like we want some more clarity on timing, and we want more clarity on what is going into that bucket of 1.2 million that needs to be raised. So we will take it as an action item here to work with Mike and work with Rob at the team and give you guys back an answer to the best of our ability on timing specific and funding specific. So we will get you guys some more details on that going forward. I just wanted to call that out because I'm still definitely seeing some questions, and this is great. It's great to have this dialogue. We want you to be asking these tough questions. I would be, Steve is as an investor, Ellie is also an investor as well. And you had something to chime in there, Ellie. So why don't you go ahead?
I just wanted to emphasize as a elf rider and a huge biker in a community that is very liberal, but then around us is not very liberal. I feel when I go out on my bike, I want to ride with someone else. So I feel larger. Um, but however, in the elf, I know that I can go out by myself. I have turn signals, I have lights. I feel very, very safe in the elf, and I can go out on my own, and I have many conversations in parking lots where people are like, "Oh, okay, it's a tricycle, whatever." And then I show them the lights and the turn signals, and it's the wow factor. They're like, "Oh my goodness, I think I want to start right. I'm interested in this too because I can safely do what you're doing. I want to ride to the grocery store and be able to do what you're doing." So that's it.
Can I
Very
just
good.
add, just for a minute,
Sure.
uh, just to follow up with what Ellie was saying, I also have an elf. I have one of the ones from about 2017 or 18, and I ride it around town quite a bit, run errands here. Uh, Saves a lot on the car. I don't use my car nearly as much as I used to, and I also take it to nearby golf courses, some of which are a number of miles away, and I can put my golf clubs in the car, in the car. Steve, see, you got me saying a
I'm
car.
sorry, Mike.
In the elf.
I'm going to
On
keep
the
you guys
road.
honest.
On the road again.
I put my golf clubs in there and I go to the golf course. And, just this morning I was running some errands and to a grocery store and got stopped for about 15 or 20 minutes. I had to explain a lot of what this elf was to two people who came over while I was parked and came out of the store and wanted to know more about it. And that, to Ellie's point, that just happens constantly to me, just as it does to her.
Great. Thank you. Any other comments or thoughts from any of the panelists? We have lots of questions that I'm going to just start to dive in unless anyone has any other thoughts they wanted to share before we do so.
So I just wanted to say regarding Ellie's situation, I mean, here she is an urban farmer, a soil scientist. She's running all these errands around town. You know, automatically you'd think, oh, that's pickup truck material, right? She's not just eliminating a car. She's, using it as a truck, a cost-free, pretty much, truck. And, hauling around buckets of soil and all sorts of things, that would go in a pickup bed, but it fits in the Elf just fine and does remarkably well and extremely efficiently. And it's, many, many people have these sorts of use cases.
And Rob, the weight that's allowable, right, is 550 pounds.
Yes.
So yeah, so for most jobs, it's plenty to do. And the battery, to Mike's point, right? You can ride it for exercise, but also the battery lasts. Again, in the new version, the expectation is how many
So it
miles?
have a maximum range of 200 miles if they get the higher end battery packs. Um, and also, they tow trailers. There's many, many elves out there that tow trailers. And Ellie and I were just talking about that yesterday. You can really, come very close to that pickup truck load when you have an elf pulling a trailer. Kind of amazing, really.
Thank you. Okay, well, let's get started in some of these questions because we have a lot, and I'm sure there'll be more to come. And we're very thankful for this great dialogue that is happening and lots of conversation. Love to see that. It's a very interesting group with ELF owners and customers as well as investors. And so it's a fabulous conversation so far. Thank you, everyone who's joining us. I'm going to start with some questions that I see here have already been answered. I see Beverly's asking around how many ELFs are currently shipping per month. That will be an action item for us to be able to respond back to you and give you more clear idea of when we are fully in production, what that might look like. Unless, Rob, you have an answer right offhand.
I'm sorry, what's the
When you're
question?
in full production, how many elves will you be shipping per month, assuming you're in full production?
So that's kind of determined on the manufacturing, but we'll be ordering. Our intention is to order 1,000 at a time, and But they'll probably break it up into, groups of 50 or something like that. It kind of determines on the containers and the sub-assemblies and things like that.
Roughly
Great.
how long, Rob, to build an elf? The expectation?
You mean in hours?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, about
give or
5
take.
hours.
Okay. Yeah, so
Five
I think
hours to
they're
build
trying
one
to get an
elf.
idea. So for that thousand, the assumption is they would be built over the span of probably a few months.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So perfect. And I think we'll be able to come back to you, as I said, with some more detail. It's great to know what questions you guys are really craving to hear the answers to, and we'll make sure that we can we can give you guys all those details. All right. Thank you. Beverly, question from JC around insurance. In the past, with the older elves, Rob, you were able to provide insurance through the Better World Club. Are there plans in the works to be able to partner with insurance companies such as Better World Club or others?
So we are planning on doing it with the Better World Club. Basically, um, for those that aren't familiar, um, the original elves were came with a 24/7 roadside assistance. So, you're riding outside of Denver, you run out of battery juice, you call them up and they come out with a rollback and take you where you got to go. And we'll be doing that again. So all the elves will be coming with 24/7 roadside assistance as standard.
Thank you. Great answer. Perfect. And we have a question from Jesse around will we be doing crowdfunding? That is already in the works, and there's a link in the chat if you would like to learn more about that. So thank you very much, Jesse, for your question there. And next question, let's see. This is a good one. How is Elf Organic Transit working to shape and address public perception on more than a one-off basis? Like Ellie mentioned, law enforcement, regulators, how are we going to be working, or how will your organization work to address those issues, Rob?
Well, again, I look back at the earlier elves. So we were on 23 U.S. campuses. We were in multiple police departments, emergency vehicles. Uh, there was traveling nurses in Montana that used them, and so we did a pilot program in New York City, not just in New York City, but in January, February, and March. And the New York City MTA wanted to partner with the pilot program. Places like New York City, like San Francisco, are enormous opportunities to really roll out the elf in a big way. If you look at any of the bike sharing programs, in these cities, they virtually stop when it rains or snows. And when we did our pilot program in New York City, riding around during those winter months, we never had to stop. We ran every day. We're hauling cargo, cases of wine. We gave free rides to people from the train stations to the Jacob Javits Center. And it was really amazing how well it fit in to that environment. So, we are looking at the fleet side of things. We have a program we talked about implementing called, and not like franchising, we call it franchising. So half a dozen people live in the same community or apartment complex. They all pitch in and buy the elf together. They get an app that tells them who's charging it, when, who's using it, where, how, and it really reduces the cost of the ownership and makes a big, big impact on the local environment and those people's health, and really makes it very economical. So we're looking at a variety of ways to get it out there for fleet use, for municipal use, and for group ownership.
Great. Thank you. Great question. Okay, another tough one from Derek here. So the problem he sees with the Elf is it's too big and clumsy to be used on a bike path and too slow to be used as an inexpensive small electric vehicle on city streets where it could maintain at least 30 miles an hour. What are your thoughts on that, Rob? You talked about the categories and where Elf fits in. Where do you see Elf?
Well,
And I
let's
see
just,
Ellie shaking her head, and I'm going to shake
Oh,
my head too, but go ahead, Rob.
okay.
yeah, well, I'll just say, in Manhattan, for instance, the average speed of a vehicle is about 4 to 5 miles an hour. So we know we've got that covered. The other part is based on um, the the ADA constraints, American Disability Act. the bollards for bike trails, and they should be at least 48 inches wide. New Elf is going to be a little bit smaller than that, and they work on bike paths. They absolutely do. Not everywhere, because when communities don't build the bike paths to specs, to specifications, um, then not only are they not ADA compliant, but elves would have a little bit of problem. But most of the time, the legal bike trails, it works just fine. Another part that you have to consider, and this is really important, is that in the United States, we don't have great bicycle infrastructure. That's just the way it is. And I don't know when that's going to change, hopefully sooner. But in the meantime, you have to ride on roads in traffic. And I can tell you that based on our safety record and our track record with accidents, you're much, much, much safer in an elf riding a bit faster than most bicycles on the roads because the cars see you right away. And it gives you the position on the road that you need to make sure the cars go around you. It's not like you're hidden, like on a bicycle, like you could be hidden in a column, alongside of the windshield, the A pillar. That's not the case with an elf. People see it right away. And so I think for our time and our structure, it's incredibly appropriate and safe because it builds in its own crumple zones. It builds in the safety that you need that you don't get with any other bicycle.
That's
I'll
great.
just comment that I take mine around, as I mentioned before, to golf courses and other places around here. And some of the roads I go on are 50-mile-an-hour speed limit roads. Now, I don't go on the highways that are 65 miles an hour, but up to 50 miles an hour. And I just stay on the right-hand side. And, if it gets a little tight and people don't have, trying to get around me, I just slow down a little bit and I stick my arm out and I wave them by. Never had a problem with it. And, I think, these are all main roads. Some are kind of back roads. Talking about the bike paths too. One of them is one of the courses I go to. There's about a mile or so on a kind of a bike path, and then I go back onto the streets. But these streets up to 50 miles an hour, I don't have any problem with it. They whiz by me and they wave and they beep, and but nobody's ever come real close to me. They take their time and go around me.
You also have
Thank
to
you.
recognize that the wheels are very thick. And so for city riding, it's actually safer and nicer. With all the glass and nails and things like that, I've yet to pop my tire in the Elf, yet I've popped my tire plenty of times with my bicycle because there's so much stuff on the road. So that's one thing. And um, it, I have not had any issue I ride on every single road in Bloomington. We have college students that are coming from all over the United States and are not as used to a bike friendly area. And I still feel safe in it. Whereas, like my son, as an IU student and a very avid bicyclist, has been hit multiple times, and I never have. So I feel once again very safe. I don't just stay on the bike paths, and if I need to go around someone, those thick wheels are fantastic for off-roading a little bit, and then getting back on the bike path.
Okay, well, that's a good segue into one of the next questions, which is asking about bumpy roads. And wondering this commenter lives in the small town in California's Sierra Nevada foothills, very beautiful part of the country, but lots of bumpy roads and winter sun, it can be impacted by tall trees. So are we working on the prototypes or developing a prototype for conditions like this? Or Ellie, or Michael, do you see any problem with this currently? Bumpy
Uh,
roads or?
I would say my problem with it currently is without the suspension, it gets a little bumpy. But I have a nice cushion on my seat, and with the cushion, I have no problem with it at all. But I'm waiting for a new one with good suspension, so it'll be a lot better than
Yeah,
the older one.
it's
So
hard to
the
compare. That's
improvements
true.
the improvements that are going to be made in this are just going to be amazing.
Yeah, I would say I'm ready for I can't wait for a Elf 3.0 with doors because I've had things bounce out of the elf, and I have to go turn around and grab my garage door opener because I have a garage door opener that I keep in the elf. So in any case, I think the 3.0 is going to have so many amazing, innovations for the 1 and 2.0 owners that we're all going to want to buy a 3.0 elf.
Yeah, that's actually another question that I see in here is about the doors. So Rob, could you maybe talk a little bit, could you chat about the doors, cost, weight difference, anything else that we should know? Some people may say they got along fine without doors, but there is this addition. So can you speak to the doors on the elf, please?
Yes, and also I saw a message pop up that I think the screen is just on my picture as other people are talking. It's not
Oh,
showing
well,
them.
oh,
Um,
okay, there we go. Perfect. There you
okay.
go.
Multiple doors, right? Uh, a safety bar, just a simple door, a more transparent door, and then a heavier weight door. They're all locking. And we don't have an exact figure on the costs yet, but they'll be very structural and very light, amazingly light. And we had three different types of doors previously, and most people wanted the doors just for the most adverse weather for the wintertime or to lock down their stuff inside the elf. Which, all those things make sense. But part of the beauty of the elf that makes it closer to like a bicycle is when you get the smells and the air coming through, blowing through, and it's just like, going on vacation, just riding to the grocery store.
Great. Okay, I'm going to ask you a couple technical questions now, Rob, just since we have a couple. How do you lock the elf? How do you keep it secure?
So the original elf just had a regular key and a lock, and uh, even though it's only 160 pounds, it's not the easiest thing to carry away. The new 3.0 will have an electronic lockdown, so none of the wheels can move when the owner is not there. So in theory, someone could still steal anything like they do with the Mona Lisa or whatever got stolen last year. Everything's possibly gets stolen, but if you can't roll it, there's a really good chance it's not going to have much of a chance getting too far. And it'll also have an optional device that'll alert your cell phone if someone's messing around with it.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. How much weight can the elf tow via trailer?
That's a good question. We toyed with that multiple times. Um, and people did what they do with trailers. I would suggest that it wasn't over the weight of the payload of the vehicle. So I think, but the amazing part is if you can do 550 pounds in the vehicle and you have a 550-pound trailer, that's, you're over half a ton. But um, I know people that have hauled much heavier trailers, pop-up camping trailers and things like that.
Great. Okay, we have someone who was hoping, can they just order all the parts for elf and assemble it themselves? That's not available quite yet, right?
Well, I just had this conversation with somebody about this, and the interesting thing is our labor costs were like less than 10% of our costs of the vehicle. And the quality that gets instilled by having it built in a factory environment by skilled, trained people is immensely important. And uh, and there's the old kit car industry where people, oh, I'm going to build a car. Well, for the 200,000 kit cars they sold, probably 1% of them actually got built. So once people get it, they can take them apart and put them together. But there's a bunch of good reasons to get one that's already outfitted.
Thank you. Okay, we talked about bumpy roads. What about hills? Dorothy lives in a neighborhood in New Jersey with hills that are San Francisco steep. How,
So speaking of San Francisco, I took an elf to San Francisco and I did 7 hills in a row, like the steepest hills right there, one after another. And not like I'm an Olympic cyclist or anything, but the elf did it just fine. And one of our number one elf, our first customer elf, lived outside of Asheville in the um, mountains of western North Carolina. And she said they never had a hill that they couldn't get, a mountain that they couldn't get up. And And so they do very well. I believe the record is Mount Whitney. A gentleman in his 70s rode his elf up Mount Whitney, 14,000 feet, towing a trailer. So, hills really just aren't an issue for the elf, actually.
Thank you. What about turn radius? And also, can it reverse?
So the new 3.0 is uh, going to have a reverse, and that'll be electronic. And the turning radius, we're working on right now. I believe the our last elf was about 15 feet in the turning radius. Um, One of the challenges when you make a vehicle this light and this efficient, that if you make it so agile, when you're coming down those big hills that we just talked about, it might have too quick a steering. So you have to balance out turning radius with, oh, I'm going down a hill at 45 miles an hour, right? So you have to balance that out. But probably the turning radius will improve a little bit on the new Elf because it's actually going to be a little bit smaller.
Ah, okay. Thank you. A question from our good friend Tim. What is the bottom of the elf like? How enclosed is it, and why do you like it that way?
Um, so it's the 3.0 is fully enclosed. The bottom is completely enclosed.
Great. And why do you like it that way?
Um, Why do I like it that way? Well, it's what many, if you're riding in the winter and it's raining and you could get a little bit wet underneath there. You'd only get wet in the original Elf if you turn the wheels while you're in a puddle. If you're going straight through, it just goes up into the fenders. Some people have devised wonderful inner fender wells. But you know, for me, I like absolute simplicity, and yet I'm not the only customer, right? And there's a definition of simplicity. It's not when you've stopped adding all the things you want on, but you couldn't remove anything else. That's the ultimate definition of simplicity. And so, in my case, I have a floor or I don't have a floor because I need one or I don't need one. And I do like the open air living in North Carolina. But many people need the security. They need many elves have been sold in Michigan and Canada and even Alaska, and they need the full floors. And so it's just going to be part of our manufacturing process. It's going to be part of the structure. The whole overall integrity of the body and frame relationship is going to be the floor.
Thank you so much. Gosh, so many great comments. I want to just thank some of you, Jesse, who's an aircraft mechanic, and he's suggesting the use of some different aluminum and balsa wood materials for the body. So we thank you very much for sharing that. And we have had a couple other suggestions. So all of this is great. We're going to take all of these comments and information once we are done with this webinar and share that back out with the team. And hopefully you'll see some of those things integrated in. So thank you so much for that. And we've still got 10 minutes, and I'm going to keep taking questions till the very end. So we have some more, so we'll keep going, and I'll give everyone a chance to say last little words if they want before we end. So moving on. How about I know Ellie said that I'm not sure if she's ever had to change an elf tire, but what is that process like? Eileen is wondering what that process would be like and how easily it can be changed or fixed. Is it like a bike, or what is it like?
I could answer that.
Okay,
I just had to change one recently.
cool. Do it.
I must have hit something in the road. There was a big nail or something in it. And so I just went down to a store, got a new tire, new tube in it, and it came off relatively easily. Just put the new tube and the new tire in, uh, and it was relatively easy. Not a problem at all.
Let me just add in here, the front wheels are much easier to change a flat tire than they are for any bicycle.
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. A couple more technical questions, and then we've got a couple of business questions. So if I haven't answered your question and you're burning desire to have it answered today, pop it back in there and I'll get to as many as I can. What about the doors? Are those going to be easily removable?
Absolutely.
Great. And then you mentioned towing elf up a big mountain, an elf towing a trailer up a big mountain. Do we know how much weight an elf can tow via trailer?
Like I said, some people are towing much higher than I would recommend.
Okay.
And so my thought the trailer shouldn't weigh any more than the elf's entire payload. So something, the trailer and the cargo should be under 550 pounds. But, it's not like we built this elf to be towing things. It just so happens people put hitches on them and tow.
Yeah. What about snow, Rob?
They do great in the snow and ice. It's really amazing. There are some videos on YouTube showing it climbing up snowy, icy hills, steep grades. And the people riding up it, they were shocked themselves. You hear them kind of saying these spectacular things. And I can say that the road that they were on, most cars could not have gotten up that hill that day.
Mm.
So because it has narrow tires, because it goes back to one rear wheel, because the whole weight, when you're going up a hill, that weight transfers back to that one skinny tire. It's like a little chainsaw zipping up the hill. And, I've seen videos of them on frozen lakes in Maine and in Wisconsin. And yeah, they do very well. We also sell studded snow tires for them.
Oh, cool. That'll work where I'm from in Colorado. I love that. Okay, fantastic. Well, we're going to keep on going. Question about international shipping. So is that something that will happen initially, shipping internationally, or is that something that has to be waiting for a later phase?
I don't think it has to be a later phase. Uh, I think at the early stage, the people, the customers in those countries are going to have to figure out their VAT tax situation, their duties, their policy things, registration. They'll have to figure that out for themselves. But pretty early on, the other elf, we started just shipping them right out. But because the way we're assembling them, we're hoping to actually have an assembly facility in Europe, and we're hoping to have a assembly facility in Latin America as well as the US.
Okay, great. What country do you expect to manufacture the 3.0s in?
It'll probably be a variety of 4 countries that are providing the parts that they do best. And when they get to when these containers come, say 3 containers get together, um, about about 200 elves will be able to be assembled from those 3 containers in about 3 hours each. And so wherever they're being sold, there should be an assembly point there.
Fantastic. Great. And a question asking, will we be hosting more of these sessions? We absolutely will, especially seeing this amazing attendance today. How many people came out? We want to answer your questions and we want to make sure everyone has the information that they need. And there's a lot of it to share out. So we're hoping to do them on a much more regular basis as well as share out the answers to all of these questions. So thank you for joining. Okay, we got 5 minutes left. I'm going to keep going. Let's see here. Question from Ellie, actually. Will there be an add-on option for a heater?
Oh, from Ellie. So,
From Ellie.
yeah, a lot of people didn't realize we had a heated and cooled seat option in the original Elf. And it was really pretty cool because the substrate that we used inside of there was microwavable. So you heated it up to like 120 degrees, slipped it into the base of the seat, and off you went. And people that are in the cold climates know if your seat is warm, life is pretty good. And that same uh, uh, micro beads would be frozen. You leave them in the freezer. And I rode around in 108 degrees and, you know, my butt was frozen and it was great.
And
Thank
JC
you.
JC still has the pack, the heat cool pack for their elf. So
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So many great ideas. What about the windshield? Is it going to be the same material as the older elves?
Um, so it'll be a polycarbonate. Whether it'll be the exact same one, probably not, but similar,
Okay,
you know.
similar. There's a suggestion from Brett to partner with Tanis to offer an airless wheel set. So that might be something interesting to look into.
Yes.
Let's see. Okay, so just a couple more of the questions just related to the process and production. So once you secure the prototype funding, which we've discussed, Rob, do you, and Mike, maybe a question for our CFO, do you envision that production and sales will be sufficient funding, or do you expect that more funding will be required at that point?
Oh no, once we
So,
get the prototypes for, let's say, we've talked about a million, 1.2 million, and get the prototypes all ready to go. Then we're going to need additional money for production. Uh, Rob's talked about, let's say we have to order 1,000 parts. That's a lot of money. So, we'll need, it could be 2, 3, 4 million, depending on, how fast we can get that. If we have a smaller amount of money, this is after the initial million. If we have a smaller amount of money, then we're going to have to order a smaller amount of parts and slowly build it. If we get a larger amount of money, yes, we can go right into uh, more parts initially, which will be cheaper in quantity and produce them a lot quicker.
Okay. And there's another question just around what is, all of the debt on the crowdfunding chart, how much is going to salaries, et cetera. What I'm hearing is that we need to get the group a more detailed breakdown of what is involved, what is all going into that 1.2 and what we expect, and then what we need to take it to the next level. So we will take that as an action item, and Mike and Rob can work together to come up with some more information to answer some of those questions and some data that we can share out with everyone after that. So we'll definitely do that. I guess last point, we do have some more technical questions. If we didn't get to your question, we will definitely try to answer those. We do have your email, so if there's something specific, we can get back to you via email. And again, we'll be doing these quite often. I'm very excited to have more of these. Thank you for letting me host this. It's been great. One thing I did want to note is that we will be launching an ambassador program. And Ellie and Steve are going to be two of our founding members here, both as investors, Ellie as an ELF owner. There are so many ELF owners that are here today that I've noticed. We would love to have your help and support when we're talking about how we're going to get to the 1.2 and beyond. It's not going to be without help from our community and our owners and everyone who's championing getting this idea out the door and getting our ELF 3.0 into production. So you will stay tuned for more information that we'll be sharing out, but we are looking to put together a group of people who are passionate, who want to help us take this to the next level and build out a grassroots movement for ELF.
And I think, Sarah, just to build on that,
Please.
for everybody on the phone or on the call, it's both clearly a desire to own and hopefully a desire to invest. But the sense of community that is around organic transit in the ELF is incredible, right? Part of you asked, why did I invest? Again, there's a truly a wow all around, not just around the design and the functionality, but around just the lovability of this and how it meets so many needs, right? Sustainability needs, exercise needs, energy needs, transportation needs, and beyond. But I think one of the things is this is all, as Rob said, the seed stage. As we keep growing as a company, there's going to be access to other funding as well. Could still come from individuals, a portion, but hopefully there's also then an excitement as people see that it's real and the prototypes are done and the manufacturing's ready to start, that then excites others who have bigger pockets to help get in, right? And advance it. Because to Mike's point, if you can get the money, the business will be there, right? The demand clearly is there. And if Rob and the team build out the prototypes and get it to a great point, now you can move quicker. The more money that they have access to in the next phase, the quicker it will be able to be manufactured. And that's what everybody wants clearly on the phone. So
Absolutely right.
it's on the right path. It's on the right path.
And we'll end there. Thank you so much, Steve. That's a great way to wrap it up. And Rob, do you want to make any last remarks? I think that's a great stopping point. We have so much participation, so many amazing people on the phone. We look forward to interacting with you, getting to know you better, hopefully having you join the Ambassador Program. Stay tuned for many more of these webinars. Anything else you want to say before we close, Rob?
I just
Quickly?
wanted to thank everybody for attending, from the original ELF people to the people who are saying, gee, maybe an ELF is something I want to look at. Just the whole community, everybody, thank you so much for attending. We hope we got to most of your questions, and we look forward to answering all those questions as time goes on. Have a
Fabulous.
great afternoon.
Thanks, everyone. Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye.
Okay.